You're in a meeting, explaining a plan you worked on for 2 weeks. Halfway through, a coworker leans back and says, "I don't think you understand how this works. Maybe someone with more experience should handle it." Nobody has corrected a number. Nobody has named a flaw. But your credibility just got lowered in front of the room. And your first instinct is dangerous because it feels responsible. You start proving yourself. "Actually, I've done this before. On the Carson project I handled." Now you are no longer presenting the plan. You are presenting your résumé to someone who just made your competence the topic. Rewind the scene. Same comment. Same room. Same pressure. This time, do not prove that you belong there. Ask, which part of the plan do you think doesn't work? That is the first move. And resist the more satisfying version. What makes you more qualified than me? It sounds strong, but it accepts the same contest. Now both of you are arguing about rank. The plan is still sitting there untouched. Your job is not to prove that you outrank the person who dismissed you. Your job is to make the conversation earn its judgment. Which part doesn't work? It takes a judgment about you and asks for something the room can actually examine. But now comes the harder question. What if they answer? What if there really is a problem with the plan? This is where people often make a second mistake. They think that if the critic is right about one detail, they have to accept the larger insult too. You do not. Imagine they say, "Your timeline doesn't include vendor approval. That adds at least a week." Good. Now there is a real issue. You can say, "You're right. I missed that approval step. I'll update the timeline." And then keep going. Notice what you did not do. You did not say, "But I still know what I'm doing." You did not explain your years of experience. You corrected the work without turning one mistake into a verdict on your competence. That distinction matters. A useful correction gives you something specific to inspect. A number, a requirement, a missing step, a risk, a fact. A status attack stays broad. You're not ready for this. You clearly don't get it. Maybe leave this to someone more experienced. Those statements may sound authoritative, but until they connect to something specific, there is nothing useful to answer. So run the scene again, this time down the other branch. You ask, "Which part of the plan do you think doesn't work?" They shrug. "I just don't think you're ready to lead something this complicated." Do not start listing accomplishments. Say if there's a specific concern with the plan, let's address it. Then return to the work. That is not avoiding criticism. It is refusing to let a vague status judgment replace the actual subject. Now suppose they do name a concern, you answer it, and they keep going anyway. The numbers are fine. I still think this is above your level. The decision has changed again. You are no longer deciding whether the work is correct. You are deciding whether a person-level judgment gets to keep taking over a work discussion. That is when a simple standard is enough. Keep the criticism on the work. Short, normal voice. Then continue with the issue that actually needs a decision. This becomes more important when the person has authority over your reputation. A rude comment from a peer may need one correction and nothing more. But if a manager repeatedly tells a room that you are not ready, not experienced enough, or don't understand, without tying that judgment to clear requirements, the cost is different. Those comments can affect who gets trusted with work, who gets heard, and how your performance is described later. At that point, do not fight the whole battle in the meeting. Get the issue into specifics. Afterward, confirm the work in writing. What was proposed? What was corrected? What concern remains? This is not a dramatic complaint about being disrespected. It keeps the actual work from being replaced later by a vague memory that you weren't ready. If not ready is still being used, ask for the requirement behind it. What specific requirement am I not meeting yet? Now there is something you can act on, challenge, or document. And there is one case where you should not use this video as armor against reality. Sometimes you are missing experience that genuinely matters. Maybe the project requires a certification you do not have. Maybe the decision belongs to someone with legal authority you do not have. Maybe someone points out a risk you have never handled before. That is not automatically disrespect. The test is whether the gap can be named and whether it matters to the work. If it can, deal with the gap. I haven't led that part before. Jordan has. I can own the rollout and have Jordan review compliance. That answer is stronger than pretending there is no gap, because you are still making a clear decision about the work. The goal is not to prove that you are the smartest person in the room. The goal is to stop a vague attack on your competence from becoming the conversation. If there is a real problem, fix it. If there is only a status judgment, do not build our résumé around it. Which hits harder for you? Someone criticizing your idea, or someone implying you should not be the person making it?